Good evening. All right. So I'm Simone Checchia, and I am one of the creative directors in Blue Orange, which is a creative agency in Apulia. And I'm also a UI and social media teacher, and I am one of the managers in Roba da Grafici, which is the biggest Italian community about graphic design. What I do every single day in my life is rolling up my sleeves, as many of you, of course, and doing what I truly love, being a graphic designer. Being a graphic designer for me is really amazing. To give creativity to brands, to people, imagine things that didn't exist before, and watching them take shape the day after is really amazing and gives me a lot of way to be creative every single day. Sometimes, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think is about that project. And when my work day ends, and I go doing groceries, walking through the supermarket, what happens is that I'm still thinking about that project. And sometimes, I think about that project even at night, when I sleep, dreaming up solutions for my day-to-day problems. Sometimes, little times for big projects. Or sometimes, budget too big to manage, and I'm kind of afraid of them. By the way, graphic design provides me new challenges every single day, and I do love it. I do love it. Now, I want to play a little game with you. Let's pause for a moment and think together about the challenges that you faced in your professional career. Let's think about it, all right? The biggest one, the most difficult one. Do you have it in mind? Wow, what a crowd. Do you have it in mind? Yeah. All right, yeah, okay. Cringe. Don't mind, your challenge doesn't mind, because this is about me. So, what I'm going to do is to share with you my greatest challenge as a graphic designer every day. And my personal challenge is accessibility. When we hear the word accessibility, we often think about its urban meaning. A building, a space, a square. They're accessible if all the people actually, can use this space no matter what their ability is, all right? So if for every step there is a ramp, or maybe a lift, this is accessibility. And of course, accessibility exists even in user interface design and in user experience. And I'm not talking only about disability. Remember 2005? I'll help you with it. The Gorillaz dropped Feel Good Inc. V for Vendetta and Harry Potter, The Goblet of Fire, were in the cinema. What a time. And for whoever surfed the internet, every single website said the same thing. You need to install Flash Player to access this website. And then, And then, once you install it, rainbow flying kittens, music, sparkle, Harry Potter, flying around, and everything. It was really amazing. But what happens if I don't have enough space on my computer to install Flash Player? What if my operating system doesn't allow Flash Player? Or what if I just don't want to install Flash Player? I can't access the information in the internet. And this is the complete opposite of accessibility, if you think about it. The problem, I think, is that many times we design for our ego. We design to publish a better project in our portfolio. Woo! Yeah, let's give it to me. All right. So, sometimes we design to get more likes on Instagram or social media. Or maybe sometimes we think that accessibility is a requirement only if we work in a big company. Or maybe if we are designing the layouts for the subway. But this is the truth. I don't think so. By the way, the subway, the metro, we call it in Italy, is amazing. Look at this map. The red line, the green one, the yellow. This is so understandable. This is so clear. I can just take a look for a second, and in a glance, I know where do I need to go. And what if I'm colorblind? Do you see what I mean? Do you see where the problem is? So let's do the game again. Stop for a second and think how many times you stopped and ask yourself, how will this be seen by a person who is colorblind? How this will be read by a person who has, I don't know, dyslexia? How will this be seen by an elderly person? Not too many. It doesn't matter, don't worry. The only thing that matters is to be cool on Instagram. I'm joking. By the way, let's go back to my story, okay? So my story is that I met Daniele by chance. It was May 2022. I was in Rome attending at a graphic design event where I was a speaker. The weather in Rome was so hot. The sidewalks burned down my feet while I was walking. And I was kind of late. I didn't mind because my speech was in the afternoon, so I'm not rushing to get there. And when I entered the theater, a speaker was already on stage. He seems to be a sportsman. He seems to be a water ski champion. I don't know nothing about water ski, so it doesn't matter to me at the first. His name is Daniele Cassioli. The host starts to list an endless array of world titles, championship, world records, and I start thinking to myself, whoa, this is a big fish, innit? And then, as I said, I was kind of late, so I didn't get the full speech. I only get the last part, and with these last bits, I was really fascinated by Daniele, by this man's charisma. I was kind of captured by him. And only in the end, when his speech finished, Daniele does something really funny. Takes out something out of his pocket, opens it with a loud click. It was his white stick. And I realized, only in that moment, while Daniele was walking away, that Daniele is blind, since birth. I was so amazed by him. And with me there was my colleague Giorgia, and we both are so fascinated by Daniele that we felt the urge to work with him. In the end, we started cooperating with Daniele, and at the beginning, I was kind of afraid of using some terms like look, view, or even eyes. I was really ashamed. But there is one moment that really changed my perspective as a graphic designer, because I was always trying to explain to Daniele the outcome of our work, to make him imagine what we were doing. Saying things like, look, there is this big white title written in a modern typeface on a navy blue background. And one time, Daniele replied to me, he was really brave, replied to me, look, Simone, do you understand I have no fucking idea of what a navy blue is. Oh my God, my brain blew. It's like I was able to truly understand what blind since birth meant only in that very moment. And this destroyed my whole life as a career, my whole career as a graphic designer. All my studies, all my color theory and stuff like that, destroyed in a moment. And this, for a graphic designer, is really a big challenge. So how did I face this? Well, by deeply understanding it. And the only way that really worked for me was to try on my skin what it meant. How? Every 6 months, me and my team, we met with Daniele and 50 blind kids, and we stay for a couple of weeks completely blindfolded. This means that when you wake up in the morning and take a shower, or when you have your breakfast, or play sports, you're blindfolded. This means that if you have to make a phone call to a client or to your mom, your eyes are closed. If you have to make a payment, if you have to use your phone or social media, you do it with your eyes closed. And this helped us really empathizing with blind users and truly understand how a blind user uses his phone every day. We understood a couple of things that I want to share with you. First of all, we understood that there is visual impairments and blindness, two different things. If you are completely blind, you can't see nothing. Or maybe you can see a little of light and a little of shadows, and that's all. Or maybe you are visually impaired, and there are so many kinds of visual impairments. For instance, there is the loss of the central vision, and you can only see with the side of your eyes. Or there is the loss of the peripheral vision, and you can only see at the center of your eyes, like if you're looking at the world through a pipe, okay? And then there is blurred vision, cataracts, and on and on and on. And this kind of affects the way users use their phones. For instance, many times we saw visually impaired kids using their phone, social media, like this. This stuff is, okay. So, using their phones like this, because they could only see with the side of their eyes, so they put their phone really close to their eyes, and this made me think about a lot of stuff. Of course, if you are completely blind, you can still use your phone by using a screen reader, such as the VoiceOver, for instance. How does a screen reader works? The screen reader is a voice assistant that reads out every single piece of information that is on your screen. Starting from the very top, going down to the bottom, it reads everything. So it starts reading the time and the date, the battery status, the signal, and everything. If you're bored and you want to skip to the information that you're looking for, you can swipe left or right to make the screen reader go down, go up or down. But if you want to actually swipe between pages, you can do it with 3 fingers. You swipe with 3 fingers between pages. If you tap the screen reader reads the elements that you tapped. And if you really need to open the element, you can double tap it. So as you can see, the gesture kind of slightly change, right? But once you understand these fundamentals, you can even try to play harder, all right? So this is what we are going to do today. We are going to see 6 tips that we learned from experience. Of course, this was the right slide for the gesture, but I skipped it. Doesn't matter. So 6 tips that we learned from experience to design better user interface, but mostly better user experiences for blind or visually impaired users. First of all, and most important, is labeling. What does it mean? When you label something, you make sure that every component in your design systems has a verbal description. And this description must be understandable and clear, and it must communicate the purpose of the component. I'll give you an example. Take a look at this button. If you just leave this button as it is, the screen reader will say something like, button, Apple, logo, pay now. This isn't really understandable, isn't it? But if you label it, you can make the screen reader read pay with Apple Pay button. This is way more clear because it says clearly what the button is and what will happen once you clicked it. You are going to pay with Apple Pay. Of course, every single multimedia content in your interface must have the alternative text, and this is something we already know. So if you have an image like this of me and Daniele, you can say that 2 really hot guys are sitting on a wall by the lake. The screen reader will read this description. It's legit, isn't it? But let's think about this. When we look into a piece of graphic, such as a poster, such as a magazine, such an application, an interface, whatever, we can understand what are the most important elements on the page by looking at the font size, boldness, color. A blind person can't benefit from this. So we must provide hierarchy and make sure that the most important elements in our page are read out first. In this page, there are a lot of elements, but we can make the screen reader read first the title, the subtitle, and the CTA in order to quickly make the blind person using this app understand what this page does. So Memoro Piccini is a red wine, odd now. Only after he can read the star ratings, the reviews, the description, and whatever, right? Another funny thing that we do as graphic designer is that we like to use these visual inputs that we call Gestalt rules. Have you ever heard about Gestalt rules? No? Such as enclosure, similarity, and on and on. Well, the Gestalt rules tells people how the elements are connected, are linked together. And of course, the screen reader can't imagine how these elements are connected together. So we can group the elements in order to make the screen reader read them always together. And if I skip them together so I can be more quick scraping my page. Again, we graphic designers love to kind of decorate our products with lines, dots, icons, and stuff. And this is amazing because those are kind of visual helping the user to understand the most important places in the page to look. But all of these elements, they doesn't apport any value to a blind user. So what we can do is that we can make the screen reader completely ignore these elements and make the screen reader only read the elements that are really important. Again, as I said, many visually impaired users, use their phone by putting it really close to their eyes. If we use larger font size or larger line heights, we can help them looking at the content they are reading. But if we make those elements fully customizable, we can even allow the people to set their own preferences. And this is not only good for who is visually impaired, but it's really good even for other class of user, for instance, who suffer from ADHD, or people who suffer from dyslexia. I'm going to give you one extra tip, which is KISS. I came across to KISS while reading to John Maeda, The Rules of Simplicity, a great book. I truly say to read it. KISS means keep it simple, stupid. The simpler, the better. When designing, when building application, the simpler, the better, always. But if you have to go home with just one tip that you can bring with yourself in your office, in your day-to-day life, is this. Turn your screen reader on right now and try it on a long-term period. Use it. Understand how does the screen reader works. What application gives me headache because they are too difficult to use? And what application instead are really easy? And why? Only in this way you can truly empathize with your users and you can understand how to design and develop better UI and UX. Thank you very much.